especially welcome and thank FAO who has been assisting us.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pulam Nakatuyo. First, let me convey my warmest greetings to you all, and thank you essentially for allowing me to address you this morning while we are finalizing this very important document, the Strategic Development Plan for our ministry for the period 2019 to 2023. The Strategic Development Plan is not only something that we undertake because it is compelled by government, rather we develop it as an institutional document to deliver on to the aspirations of the people of this country. Governments are born out of the people to pool resources to help them to meet their aspirations. The government represents the collective aspiration of all people in the country to grow and develop, to live with respect and dignity, and to be secure. In any country, we have people with different levels of wealth and income. They derive different levels of benefit from public goods. To ensure even growth and development, to ensure the weakest is supported, we have government being given the ultimate power and resources to do so. Within government, we have ministries and bodies who are tasked to contribute towards this collective aspiration and vision. The Ministry of Agriculture is a very important ministry which has the duty to contribute to this collective aspiration and vision by ensuring that it contributes towards employment and livelihood, nutrition and food security, national income and building foreign reserves, and climate mitigating strategies. So in a nutshell, what I've said is that as a government, it's our role to ensure that we contribute towards delivery of a common vision. But individuals, institutions, firms have their own objective, but at the end of the day, government is there to deliver to the common vision. And that is why you have government which has born out of people to have the ultimate power to level the playing field and let everyone grow together. The weakest, the strongest. Now, everyone in this room, and those who have not been able to make it here today, our staff, be it a grass cutter, a farmer, or technical officer, or director, or deputy secretary, yes, all of you have ideas. There will be differences in ideas. But the vision is same. Whatever you say, whatever you do, is the same vision. There's a common vision. A common vision that we all that want to grow together as a country, as a nation. So, the strategic plan is a convergence of these ideas to deliver on to this common vision. It should bind everyone and allow everyone to move forward collectively and successfully as an organization. The real challenge is how do you've grown up with a thinking, you've grown up with an idea very close to you, it's quite personal to you. Right? But the idea is how do you, in this, over the last 2 years, how you are able to really open up to the world view, to alternative views out there. That's the real test. And if you want this document to be successful, you want this document to be meaningful, and you want this document to be together, the whole idea is how do you ensure that you get your views, your ideas, pack it up in this document which holds together. So it must be a futuristic and intergenerational in nature. Hopefully, it should be a rolling plan. Make it dynamic in nature. It should not be a static document. It should evolve over time. The way you write it, it should allow for the incorporation of ideas over time. So, as alluded to earlier, we all have very strong views. So sometimes we tend to bring in other institutions' interest while contributing to the plan. It's a small country. We all are connected. There are different institutions. I'm sure the players must have spoken to you. They would have given you their contribution. They would have come to you. Would have asked you that you're doing this plan. Make sure it is there. This is there. You listen to them. You don't say that you don't want to talk to them, you don't want to listen to them. The question is, you should not lose sight of that common vision, common objective of growing agriculture in a sustainable manner, thus ensuring that it contributes effectively to the key areas outlined above. The areas that I've outlined, it may be probably the way I wrote it is probably different than the categories you have there. But if you map it, it'll map out food security, national income and foreign reserve position, contribution to sound ecology and contributes to climate mitigation strategies. What I've read, the preservation, it maps out. Right? My language would be different from yours. So the long-term strategy for agriculture is to let demand drive production and supply. I do hope that it is the underlying theme. For so long, we were silently supporting the ideology that supply would create its own demand. So there was this missing link. We generally, the left wingers, the pure science, the agronomists, animal scientists, crop scientists, they're trained in that manner of thinking about maximum production. And sometimes in small developing countries, the political spectrum is such that it kind of also takes you towards that ideology that you support farmers, you give grants, you give subsidies, it'll raise production, and that'll expand agriculture. But in the long run, that's not sustainable. What will happen is that you're incentivizing farmers, giving them grants and subsidies. You will end up retaining the retirees, the leisure and part-time farmers in the sector. You will distort the factor markets via subsidies and grants. You will create temporary factor markets. That's not sustainable. That agriculture, which tends to distort factor markets, tends to create temporary factor markets, doesn't give the farmer a true picture of the factor market. That's not sustainable. Instead, let market demand give signals to the farmer. Let's clean up, let this strategic plan, clean up the factor side. That doesn't mean we will remove support for farmers. That doesn't mean there won't be any substitutes of grant. It must be seen and visible that these are temporary assistance. It is there to give the farmers a leverage. It is there to give the smaller farmers to organize themselves a window of opportunity. And they must clearly see that it is there as a temporary. We must clearly demonstrate to them our exit strategy. This plan should look at how we provide support and resources to the demand side, the buyers, the exporters, the collectors. We resource them, organize them, map out the areas. While we support and resource them, we don't encourage competition amongst them, which kind of drive down the farm gate price. There's ways and means of doing that while we want to incentivize them. We should not, while we are supporting the demand side, we should not be stuck with individuals. Rather, we support and develop institutions on the demand side. That's sustainable in the long run. Individual buyers and individual exporters will come and go. But if we support institutions on the demand, on the side, the market, that will be sustainable. That's the way to go. So, in this plan, I do hope that we will ensure that we strengthen, incentivize, resource, and motivate the demand side. We should partner with the buyers and exporters. We have huge potential. You know, we're so fortunate that we got a block market in Australia and New Zealand, a sizable population who have our own taste and preferences. Psychologically, they would want to buy our products. It's a huge market. They are very close to us. So today's workshop, we will be finalizing the strategic development plan. A lot of work has gone into it for the last 2 years. A lot of bright mind, young and bright people have worked on it. A lot of consultation has taken place. And I must say that, this plan, if it comes out well, it will be something that you own. You will own it. You will see yourself. You will see your reflection in there. And if you want to use it, you will use that to guide resource allocation, guide the entire ministry. And I want to thank all those, the donor agencies, development partners who have assisted in contributing to develop this plan. So it has 4 objectives: to present and validate the agriculture theory of change, to validate the strategic priorities, to identify key outcomes, and to determine indicators to measure these outcomes. Monitoring is very critical, and I do hope that you will have that aspect in this plan. So, colleagues, I thank you very much. I still think that there's still room to fine-tune, to open up, and to at least allow people to listen to the view out there, the world view, and then it'll be your plan. You'll own it. So thank you very much for inviting me to share my thoughts on it. But at the end of the day, it'll be our plan, and we want it to be the single most important document that will guide us over the next 5 years. So thank you very much, and I look forward to receiving this plan later on.
Honorable Minister, and then we will have tea. I will now ask us to, if we can.
Yeah,